Crystal Philp. Spring Irby, 30-year resident of Saginaw.
Clayton Ray.
Linda Young.
Paul Rosinski, I'm Public Works Operations Manager.
I'm John Tadlock, Lieutenant Chief, Fire Department.
I'm James Britton, I'm a lieutenant with the police department.
I'm Aaron Callahan, traffic officer.
I'm Paul Falegi, Mayor Pro Tem.
Lee Howell, Assistant City Manager.
I'm Gabe Graham, City Manager.
Okay, the first thing, since this is our first meeting, we're going to have to elect a chairman, vice chairman, and a secretary. So, you guys want to nominate somebody, or if somebody wants to step up? I thought, Crystal, you'd be perfect for it, since...
Yeah, I'll step up.
Okay. And then, vice chairman? Okay. And we can take notes tonight, and then we get more people, we can get a secretary to take minutes and stuff. So, so the first thing we'll do is discussion of adopting the mission statement. You should have a copy of it, along with the responsibilities and functions. Kind of give an overview of what we're looking to do and everything. So we have to adopt this then?
Yeah, it'd be good to vote on it.
Okay.
Or just discuss it.
Okay.
I mean, we can officially vote on the mission statement, and then just kind of
Okay.
get everybody to agree to that.
As much as I've been involved in the city, I've never been on a committee.
It's the same. But, yeah, everything's already in place on the council.
Yeah. So everybody good with that? So if you guys want to have somebody make a motion, somebody second it and vote on it, we'll adopt the mission statement. Yep. Okay. Yep. Just make a motion, we adopt the mission statement as presented, and then somebody second it, and then just vote. Okay. All in favor? Yes. Okay. Cool. All right. Lieutenant Crippen.
Yes.
Want to go over some traffic enforcement statistics?
Sure. So some of the traffic enforcement statistics that we had, I ran 23 and 24. So in 2023, that was before we had staffing to have a traffic officer. Now that the police department's up to staffing enough to have that traffic officer, you can kind of see the difference. So in 2023, we wrote 2,453 citations with 2,277 warnings, totaling 4,730 stops, basically. Our department is required to write a warning or a ticket on every stop so that we're able to track that. In 2024, that actually went up to 5,718 citations were written, 3,253 warnings, 8,971 total traffic contacts were made throughout that time. As far as hot spots in the city, everybody knows Basswood is always one of those. I can tell it's slowed down a little bit. My residence actually backs up to Basswood, so I don't hear quite as much as that as I do in the past. We do still work that area quite a bit. I think Officer Callahan actually wrote 7 citations out there this morning. That's just one of the areas. It's usually a hot spot. I noticed on Facebook that a lot of people were talking about Longhorn being a hot spot for us not too long ago and things like that. We actually have a traffic radar. I know you've seen it around town that we post up on a pole that'll measure those speeds. We usually post those for 2-week intervals, leaving it there for 14 days, and we bring it back and we download it. And I know it seems like people see a lot of people driving really fast and stuff like that down these roadways. When we download this is pretty common for us to see. It's not really as bad as you would think. So on the 600 block of Longhorn, which is in between Opal and Knowles, kind of right over there where Precinct 4 is. I'm sorry? Yeah. The total vehicle count for those 14 days was 13,184 vehicles that traveled down Longhorn. The average speed was 36.2 miles an hour, which is in a 40-mile-an-hour zone. So that we do calculate it out by peak times, which would be more in the mornings and obviously after, you know, the early evening times. So it does break it down to that. We did have one vehicle at a peak speed of 85 down Longhorn. Those are typically going to be the ones that are, it's 3 or 4 in the morning and somebody's driving that fast. We just don't have an officer over there. For non-peak times, we actually had 5,629 non-speeders at all that it picked up. 526 of those were doing within 1 to 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. Only 108 of them were doing more than 10, and then only 16 cars were doing over 15 miles an hour over. And if you look at the peak times, we had 2,065 that were traveling over the speed limit, but less than 5 miles an hour. We had 622 at more than 10 miles an hour and only 122 at 15 plus. So when you calculate those averages out, it's really a lot smaller amount than what it appears to the citizens when they drive by and they do that. So, and that's, as we place the radar throughout our traffic hotspots, how we base those is by citizen complaints. People are saying that we have, you know, a lot of traffic here or a lot of speeding there or something like that. That's usually where Officer Callahan moves that camera, lets it run for 14 days. Because that's the other thing. Some of these streets, you know, I like to refer to it as a kid in the kitchen with candy. If mama's standing there, he's not going to take that cookie. Well, that's kind of what it's like when our patrol car's sitting on that street. If mama's not standing there, he's more liable to take the cookie. So that's why the traffic data radar is actually very accurate to me, because we don't have that patrol car out there that they're worried about. They don't slow down. But I guess to round it all off, the whole point of that is that even though it seems like there are people that are traveling above the speed limit, and there are, but the percentages of them are actually a lot lower than what is perceived by the general public. So I think adding our traffic officer this year is obviously, as you've seen, we went from 4,700 to 8,900. We literally doubled the stops. Right now, Officer Callahan's averaging right around 250 citations a month on his own as the traffic officer, and then the others is filled in by our patrol guys. So, and then do y'all have any questions? We good? Okay.
I did a ride out 2 weeks ago, and one of the things is Google Maps and Waze. Once you have a patrol car sit there for a while, everybody starts picking up on it, and you gotta move. So.
Yeah, for sure. I want to ask you,
Yes, ma'am.
just a second, have you seen a pickup on, not a pickup truck?
Right.
A pickup in traffic on like Woodcrest and Sheridan and also like off of Knowles there? ILT, I know the ILT traffic's, y'all don't, we don't need to, that's picking up obviously, but that cut through there now is becoming, I'm doing it too, cut through from, what is that, the Willow Creek's on, Del Mar?
That they're cutting through because of school traffic?
Well, the school traffic's cut through because everybody's blocked with Knowles.
Right.
They're all trapped.
Right.
So I was just curious if there was a pickup in traffic, if you noticed a pickup in traffic.
There's a heavier presence.
There's what?
There's a heavier presence, but we really haven't been receiving complaints about parents.
Yeah, typically when you have, I mean, we don't track like how much or what percentage of traffic has increased in an area like that. I would attribute a lot of that to, yes, the construction on Knowles
Madam, excuse me, just 1 second. Just a reminder, when everybody's speaking, if you're speaking, make sure your light's lit up. And James, if you wouldn't mind, when any of you guys are answering the questions, if you'll stay at the lectern, that would be great. Thank you.
Just on Sheridan, that cuts through there right off of, Woodcrest, where the ILT traffic backs up there, I've been noticing just I've been concerned about the kiddos that are darting in between the cars with the speed of, that's coming through there.
Yeah, I mean, your kiddos are typically gonna be safer in the residential areas like that.
Sure.
Than they are out on the major roadways and things like
Yeah.
that. I think once Knowles is finished and things like that, that traffic will resume probably back to what it normally is.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot we can do about that. I can't staff every, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure.
Even if I was to staff that one street, they're gonna turn around and cut down another one, and we don't have the officers to staff every one of those streets. But it's like Officer Callahan said, we haven't received any complaints about it yet. I don't think the patrol officers have said anything about any major backups or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge concern for me at this time, unless we start having some kind of traffic problem or something like that over there.
Yeah. Well, I know that changing it on some of this stuff on Old Decatur from going into the school there has caused, it to back up the other way. But you're right, the kids are safer in the neighborhood.
They really are, and as far, that backup at ILT, I mean, guys, if we travel around the city, whether we're talking about High Creek Elementary, or Saginaw Elementary, or Highland Middle School, or whatever, we have those backups it's in front of every school throughout every morning and every afternoon that usually lasts, maybe 20 to 25 minutes till it gets cleared out. That doesn't count all the moms that are there, at 12:15 for that 2:30 release. That we have to kind of move out of the way. But I don't really, even up on Old Decatur now, the ILT backup that we do get, it's really close to the backup that we're getting at all the schools, all the way around the city. There's not a lot we can do about that. It's just, I mean, to be honest with you, I would venture to tell you that Fort Worth, Hurst, Euless, Bedford, Arlington, they all have the same problem in those school areas during those school let out and drop off times. Yeah.
We did meet with ILT last year, it's almost 2 years ago now, and the second meeting we had with them, that the superintendent for their organization came, and he was shocked, and he basically, told them that they've got to open up their parking lot earlier than they are, and then they spent $500,000 to put that left turn lane in the southbound on Old Decatur, and that's helped a bunch. But just getting the cars into the parking lot earlier now has helped a whole bunch.
Correct.
Yeah, that left turning lane on Old Decatur it's made an incredible difference, where you can get into the turn faster instead of having to wait and,
It's not backing up to Bose anymore.
yep,
So
exactly.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay.
Well, I don't have any cool stats to tell you on what you do. I don't have any radars or any of those things. As far as the fire department goes, traffic concerns, because we don't deal with it like they do, we really don't have the issues that they do. Our biggest struggle for us are just motorists that don't understand how to deal with emergency vehicles that are moving around them. Other than that, we really don't have a whole lot of issues. I'll tell you that we don't like speed bumps. Speed bumps are terrible for us. And I don't think there's not hardly any around town anymore. There's a little bit over on that crossing on Basswood, sort of a speed bump, but not really, not like a traditional speed bump. I think we're weeded all those out. But
the
we just
railroad tracks.
Yeah, railroad tracks. We don't like railroad tracks. But we don't have all the neat stuff to tell you like he did. Have any questions for us? We're pretty boring. Thanks.
Paul, you want to give us an update on what Public Works has done and doing?
Okay, Chairman, Board, I'd like to talk to you about some of the current projects we are doing. We're going to start a mill and an overlay on East McElroy. I'm sure you've seen this war zone between the railroad tracks at Burlington. We're going all the way back to Saginaw, Maine with it. The county's gonna do it for us. And that will be starting, Monday morning. And so if I was anybody driving that way, I would avoid it because it's going to be a traffic jam. We installed flashing stop signs at Basswood in High Country. We're waiting on the materials to come in. We've already installed those flashing ones right there at Grand Central in Basswood. And we're waiting on a quote. We're going to replace 82 squares of bad sidewalk on Short Street, Guadalupe Drive, and Canyon Drive. These are all trip hazards we'll need to be working on. And we will be doing a concrete repair on Industrial, not up there by where Blue Mountain Road is. This will be in front of a business called Wham. And we'll be placing 2 panels in that street, and we got a bid for about 15 grand for them to do it. It's really expensive when you go price concrete nowadays. A lot of the future projects we'll be working on is finally the reconstruction of, Industrial Drive at Blue Mountain Road. A lot of what the holdup is because TxDOT will be rebuilding that intersection right there. And we don't know how much right of way they're gonna take back or anything. So starting anything there would just be, we might fix and rebuild something and they might turn right around and tear it out. So that's what the wait is. We'll continue to we put as much asphalt as we can, and we've been putting steel plates out to try to reduce, the damage on people's vehicles. And we'll be repairing that trip hazard in front of the front door of the police as soon as we get away from Rec Center. We just got to pour a ramp up to their little new storage building they have, and then we're going to jump on that one right there. And then we're doing some, future road work on Basswood. I don't know if you've ever seen the spot where the lanes, one's higher than the other. We have a company that will come in there and actually drill holes, and they have these chemicals they mix, and they form like just a high pressure foam under there that solidifies, and it's actually raised that street back up to normal. I've used it here. I've used it when I was with the city of Euless. It's amazing to watch how it can just lift that thing back up, and it's pretty permanent. And we'll be starting doing a lot of, East McElroy. I'm sure as you see, go up to the top where East McElroy comes into Azle Avenue, I mean Blue Mountain, there's quite a few damage there. We're gonna do a lot of repairs there. There's no point in rebuilding that road right there because, eventually that road's gonna taper off and go through where that pasture is out there, and it's gonna line up with Western Center Road. So when that whole place starts developing, there'll be so much construction vehicle going down that road and just tearing up anything new we would build. So we're gonna try to, just repair things the best we can, and make it safer for people. And that's what's current, what we got going right now, and I'll take any questions if you have it.
Has there been any movement on the sidewalks on Basswood for that one side that has no sidewalks? Let's see if you're going towards Bailey Boswell through like Highland Station by the high school. There's no sidewalks up until you get to, shoot, what is that, Silver Streak? Yeah. Right past Silver Streak?
Off of what road?
Basswood. It's like right along Basswood.
The north side of the street.
Oh, yes. I know, yeah, we know what you're talking, we're getting measurements on that, and we gotta get quotes, and same thing, we'll have to get quotes on it and see how much we can get people to do it for, but it's off, thanks for reminding me.
Okay,
Write
it
this
is on
down
the
current
list then.
Our engineering firm has been looking at it. There's also utilities that they're looking at. Another option that we possibly may look at is reducing a lane and turning it into a pedestrian bike lane. Instead of having 3 lanes on each side, have 2. And that will help slow
Yeah.
traffic down as well.
It's too many lanes through there.
so too, yeah.
And also, something that was added is Mockingbird and Grand Central is now a 4-way stop instead of
I saw
2-way.
that, which is great.
Something, I almost got hit a couple times there, so we got
Yeah.
that taken care of.
Oh, and we definitely appreciate all the changes that have been made so far through
And it's
Basswood.
like, yeah, we understand the work that needs to be done on that street. And I might also add that we're, fixing to, take in quotes to get Old Decatur, Longhorn, West McElroy, especially in Basswood, completely restriped. And we're taking out bids, and we recommend it's gonna cost around $35,000 to do all that. But they're getting bad, like when I leave here tonight and I'll drive down there, you can hardly see those lanes. So we'll be jumping on that one pretty quick.
Awesome, awesome.
Any more questions?
No.
All right, thank you.
So the next item we have is ride-outs, and that's something I would encourage you guys to do. I've gone out with the police department a few times, and we have opportunities to do it with Public Works and with fire department as well. So I don't know what procedures you guys want to use for that, because I usually just make a phone call.
So the ride-out program's pretty simple stuff. If you want to do that or you're interested in doing that, you just need to come by the PD and you'll ask for a ride-out application. Once you take that, you take it home or you can fill it out right there. It's not a whole lot. You fill that out, you leave it there, and then we'll turn it over to the administrative sergeant who will forward it up to the patrol lieutenant. Make sure you just put a date and a time that you want to ride, and then she'll let you know if that's been approved. Unless you have a criminal history that we don't know about, or you're wanted for something that we weren't sure about or something, it's usually going to be approved. Our policy states that you can ride one time every 6 months, unless there's an exigent circumstance that allows you to ride more, kind of like our city council members or our city manager, assistant city manager. It does allow leeway in there for different type of boards and things like that to ride more often if they want to. I don't want to speak for Chief Ragsdale, but I feel fairly confident that we can get that approved if y'all wanted to ride twice within 6 months or something like that. Usually, the shifts, you don't have to show up exactly when the shift starts. The night shift starts at 6, the morning shift starts at 6 a.m. You don't have to ride the whole shift. You can kind of set your own time. So if you just want to come out and say ride 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. or 6 p.m. to midnight or something like that, that's pretty easy and accommodating to do also. I do encourage people to come ride out a little bit. It helps the public understand a little more about how our job actually works, how we actually work traffic and things like that, how we deal with those problems and stuff. And I think, especially for a traffic committee, it helps y'all have just a better understanding of how we do our job and things like that. But it is a safe program that you can do. Our officers are not going to allow you to be in danger at any time or anything like that. We have policies to protect that. So, but yeah, if you want to do that, you can pick up what's called a ride-out application over at the police department, fill it out, leave it with them, and we'll get you processed through, and then they'll let you know. Any questions about it?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we also pick up an application for, like paramedic, fire department through you guys?
Exactly the same thing. You would just come out the fire station and ask for the same our document is very similar to theirs. And you just come out and ask for it, and it's a real short form. You can, I can stand in front of the microphone. It's a real short form. You just come by and fill it out. And I can't remember we have a cutoff time, like you can't stay all night. I can't remember what time we shut off. It's either 5 or 8 o'clock in the evening. I don't remember. But otherwise, it's pretty accommodating. You just let us know when you want to come. The way our shifts work, we're there for 48 hours at a time, so it really makes no difference to us, but yeah.
Okay.
It'll have just a couple little things on it, like the way they want you to dress, and we give you a little lanyard that says like so somebody knows who you are, and we're kind of the same way. There's certain things that we may not let you be involved in, but for the most part, you
Sure.
come see how it all goes down.
Awesome. And are you able to do like ride out with a police department and then fire department in that 6 months? Is that fine? Or is it just one?
No, it's two separate entities, so,
Two separate,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
it wouldn't make a difference.
So Lee has the application for the police department. He's gonna get copies emailed to everybody, so you'll have it, and then we just fill it out and bring it in.
I have a question for fire.
He's got a question for you.
About how many calls does the fire department get a month?
I'd have, you put me on the spot there, I gotta think about that right quick. We average about 12 to 14 calls a day.
Okay.
It just, yeah, it's probably in that range. It varies, but I don't wanna say how today's been today. It's been like a slow today.
Oh, you said it.
I'll check in just a minute.
Yeah. I'll just pull it up real quick. We would. They had 257 calls last week, so.
Just last week?
So the way the fire department works is we're dispatched through Fort Worth Fire Dispatch, and it almost works as an entity of Fort Worth Fire Department. So it tracks it on the map, and whatever unit's closer is gonna go, which is great for citizens of Saginaw. I unfortunately had a garage fire 7 years ago, and I had people coming from Hazlet and Eagle Mountain, where now it would be Fort Worth and a whole lot faster, so. EMS, same way too. You get whoever's closest you're gonna get, so.
I have a question on that. Are the calls 257 last week, but is that actually, they showed up on scene, or is that just calls in?
Let's see.
So typically, they probably showed up on scene on 99.9% of those. Every now and again, we'll get dispatched and canceled while we're en route. Sometimes you'll see the fire truck going down the road with lights and sirens and everything on. The next thing you know, they're sitting at the next red light waiting for it, and they turned everything off because they got canceled while they were on their way there. But that number's probably real accurate to how many calls we made.
And that's both houses combined?
Yes.
Total, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So, like Paul was saying, we have Fort Worth's computers in our fire trucks. Their GPS are on our fire trucks. So it just picks the closest, most appropriate apparatus for the call. So, for the customer, the end customer, you're getting the closest fire truck for your call. It could be, Fire Station 25 could be at Walmart grocery shopping, and there could be a call right there in that area, and it's gonna pick them and send them to it and not dispatch us, where before, we would have to come from here all the way up there. It knows where everybody is, and it calculates traffic patterns, so it will change based on traffic patterns. It may pick a different fire station today for a call at this address than it does tomorrow, if that makes sense, if traffic something's changed. But it's a super efficient system. It works great. It's
Very cool.
pretty neat.
The majority of those calls are for traffic.
Sir?
Or the majority of the calls for traffic incidences, or?
No, the majority of probably 80% of our calls are gonna be medical calls. Yes, sir.
When people don't know who to call, they call the fire
Yeah,
department.
call the fire department.
Somebody's
Do you
falling,
have-
they can't get up, whatever.
Yeah. Do you have an average, like, turnaround time by the time you guys get the call to the time you actually arrive? It just depends on where you're going, I'm sure.
Depends on traffic, right, and where we're going. Now, we have turnout times from the station that we go by, standards that we set. So from the time the tones go off, we should be pulling out of the door in less than a minute. During the day, at night, it's about 90 seconds. And that's, up out of bed, dressed, and out the door. But we typically run in the sub-minute range. Most places in town, we're gonna be on scene in less than 5 minutes from the time, or about 5 minutes from the time you called to us being on scene, without having those stats right in front of me, but that's gonna be pretty close. It is. It's fantastic. And like Paul was saying before, now that we're integrated with Fort Worth, the level of service that the citizens get is so much greater. before, if we had a structure fire, they're dispatching us, and then we're getting a couple of volunteer fire departments that are coming, so you're getting what you get when the volunteer fire department shows up. Now, if we have a structure fire really in any neighborhood in Fort Worth now, when we show up, there's gonna be us, and there's gonna be Fort Worth fire trucks pulling up. Either, sometimes they'll beat us to the other end of town. Station 25 can beat us to the other end of town. You're gonna have Fort Worth equipment showing up within seconds of us getting there. You have a lot of people to throw at the problem real quick. It's fantastic. It's a great system.
And our fire department also covers some of the county area that we contract with. So you may see them out in Bonds Ranch area and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we do mutual aid as well. So we have we have a county tanker at Station 2 over in Basswood. So they're all over the place.
Any other questions?
I do have one other question. So we just had to call you guys out for my uncle actually on New Year's Eve. And we were told then that, I guess, only MedStar can transport?
That's correct.
Is there a reason for that, or is that gonna change at some point, or?
So MedStar is the only EMS provider, the only 911 provider in Tarrant County. Well,
Okay.
let me back up. Eagle Mountain has an ambulance, and sometimes if MedStar's system is overloaded and they don't have an ambulance to send, or it's gonna be a long time, they may send Eagle Mountain, but that's it. What other, did you have like a provider in mind, or?
No, I was just curious. I actually did not know that.
Oh, yeah,
I thought that Saginaw transported.
We do not have an ambulance. No, we operate in the MedStar system. So Fort Worth Fire Department has just taken over the MedStar system, so it's being integrated into their fire department. They've taken a lot of the MedStar staff. It's coming with them. It's going to be, it's not a third city service because it's part of the fire department. I think you've been involved with a lot more than us. Even though I'm in the fire department, we don't deal with that aspect as much.
Yeah, so what's happened, and battalion chief could tell you, he, in his free time, which is minimal, he runs a transport in Erath County with, is it Dublin or is it through the
Dublin,
county?
yeah. I'm the EMS director at the city of Dublin when I'm not here.
So what's happened kind of nationwide with EMS transport is costs have gone up for various reasons. And subsidies from both the state and federal government have declined. So it's kind of it's a loss leader to transport. And the way you make it work is you do it at scale. So things are cheaper when you have more cities or a bigger system. So MedStar for a long time, and our fire chief was on MedStar's one of their boards for several years. He can tell you more details than I can, but essentially they had got to a point where they couldn't afford to provide the service. And Fort Worth in the MedStar system, I think is about 90% of the call volume. Made the decision, working with the MedStar board, to dissolve MedStar, and then EMS transport will be a part of the Fort Worth Fire Department. And so each city that is in that umbrella is like a subscriber and will pay an annual fee to have that service. Now that doesn't mean it's free. If you have transport services, you're still gonna be billed for the service, but each city that's in, from Fort Worth Fire Department now will pay an annual fee to have that because the funding has declined. So now Saginaw is lucky because we're pretty centrally located, whereas trying to think a MedStar, like say Aledo, if you're in that area, your transport is probably, your times are gonna be longer. So, yeah, we're working through that.
All our firefighters are paramedic certified.
Yep, that's a
So
good point.
They have, defibrillators, all the same drugs and stuff that they can start
Yeah,
working
we
before
carry
the
pretty well
ambulance even
everything
gets
the
there.
ambulance does. There's a couple of things that we don't, but for the most part, we pretty well carry everything the ambulance does. Like Paul said, everybody at the Saginaw Fire Department is a paramedic. So when we get dispatched, if you have a medical emergency, as you know, so y'all utilized it the other day, it dispatches us and a MedStar unit. So you're gonna get, sometimes MedStar's on scene very fast. They may, if they post. So the way their system works, their ambulances are posted all over Tarrant County, and they have a computer model that it guesses, and it does really good. It picks where it thinks the call volume is going to pick up, and it will rotate ambulances around to keep that area staffed. And there's certain hot spots that almost always have an ambulance. 7-Eleven at the end of McElroy down here, Fuel City over in that area almost always has an ambulance. And when that ambulance gets pulled into the system for a call, they start rotating another truck that direction to post up and sit there. And that's how their system works. So sometimes they're on scene before us, not all the time, we'll beat them there. But, so you're getting a high level quality of care either way. Like Gabe was saying, I work in a rural system when I'm not here, and when my ambulance shows up, you get an EMT and a paramedic or 2 paramedics. Here in town, like a cardiac arrest you're gonna get 2 fire trucks, so you're gonna get 8 paramedics off of fire trucks, and then you're gonna get a MedStar ambulance that's gonna have at least a paramedic and an EMT on it, so now you have 9 paramedics, possibly 10, and you're gonna get a supervisor vehicle from them, and you're gonna get me. So you're gonna have about 12 people show up at your house for that, and of the 12, 8 to 10 of them are gonna be paramedics for sure, if not all of them. It's a pretty high level of care system. It works very, very well. A lot of people show. Yeah, a lot of people show up. So when it transitions into the Fort Worth system, it should still be the same way. You're still going to get the same thing. Even on a basic call, you're going to get 4 paramedics on a fire truck and 2 people on an ambulance. So you're getting 6 people are showing up at your house every time you call for a medical call. Anything else?
John also has the, if you're aware that Saginaw has a arson canine, and John's the handler for that.
If you do ride out all days I'm there, you can hang out with her.
My granddaughter got to meet the dog today. We'll talk about the online training.
Yeah, so I understand, I think everybody but Spring has done the online training, is that correct? For being a board member? Okay. No, that's okay, yeah, or do you know where to find it and what everything, it's? Yeah, yes, we'll get that to you. I'll send you a link for it, okay. Yeah, doesn't take very long, it's just on public meetings and stuff like that. All right, thank you.
So the business part, that's kind of what we brought everybody together for. This whole committee kind of came about with Crystal and the things that are going on at Basswood. The community I came from in Western New York had a traffic and safety advisory board. So we figured this would be a good way for people to communicate rather than just complain on Facebook, so that you guys can come up with some ideas, or if residents have something, then they can come to the board and talk to you guys about. So I don't know if you have anything now that you'd like to discuss or get put on for the next meeting, concerns. Yep.
So might add one thing, and Mr. Ray is pulling double duty. He's on our bond committee, meet on Monday evening, but we're talking about, so big projects in this city, much like in your personal life, you don't have enough maybe cash in your normal budget to make a big purchase like a house or a car or something like that. The way the city works is when we have big projects, we go to voters and ask for approval for bonds, which is a type of a loan. So we've talked several street and sidewalk projects. The bond committee is exploring all these projects. We'll make a recommendation to the city council sometime in February, because for the city council to call a bond election in May, it has to be set in February. But some of the street projects, just off the top of my head that we've discussed, wouldn't surprise anyone. Paul had mentioned East McElroy. It's in bad shape. I know, and you probably see this online, people complain. The difficulty in designing streets, there's a lot of things that the city doesn't control, especially streets that have railroad crossings. So East McElroy, to redesign it in concrete is probably a 2 to 3 year design process to work through the railroads and the state. We've also talked about industrial, which Paul mentioned. We're doing some patches The intersection, TxDOT is going to reconstruct from Blue Mound to 600 feet to the east, so kind of by Fuel City. That should hopefully go to construction later this year. Trying to think the other sections.
And there are areas where you, if you work anywhere near that railroad, you can't do anything 25 feet either side of that railroad without having to pay for, Burlington Northern Santa Fe to have one of their inspectors to sit there the whole time you do it. So it's really hard to get. That's why you see some of the most tore up pieces of street, potholes needed. It's right by the railroad tracks. So we have the truck go in there, and it's like it's like a police operation. They jump out so fast to that truck and put that asphalt down and get out of there before anybody gets to see us. So it's a difficult working around those tracks.
I do actually have something that I wanted to ask that may lead into a topic that we could discuss. Will this board be able to, discuss issues with, parking lots as well in the city? And it's more of it's like a traffic / parking lot. So what I'm talking about is at Knowles and Bailey Boswell, because of the bridge, which I love the bridge, it has caused all the traffic into Walmart to like funnel through the side, which has created a lot of issues for pedestrians in that parking lot. It's crazy through there, so.
The pickup is created a big problem being there on that end.
I think we can talk to Walmart, but the city doesn't control privately owned property, which that would be, I remember when they made that change, because there were complaints in the past, it used to be on like the further north, like by Dollar Tree in that area, which I think is much safer, but yeah, I think we can bring that up with Walmart,
Okay,
but ultimately the city can't.
right, I kind of
You know,
figured
it's not a,
that was gonna
But
be.
the traffic
answer.
does back up into Bailey Boswell at times,
sure,
so.
yeah, if it became a problem
That
on a
one
city
entrance
street.
it's funneling from all
It
directions
is,
now.
yeah.
It
Where
gets really crazy.
us on the other side of the tracks, we usually come in through the front,
Right.
turn right, but now it's, changed, so,
Yeah, no, that's good, we can follow up.
okay, thank you.
And that's the kind of things, as you guys come up with stuff, or if you pick up with residents or whatever, where they got concerns, we can get that on the agenda for the next meeting, get the appropriate staff here so that they can talk about it. We can try and come up with a plan, who to talk to. All right, we set this meeting up for today, but I don't know if Thursdays is, the first Thursday of the month is good for you guys, or if you'd rather have a different date. That's something, you guys can decide. But right now we have it scheduled for every other month. We can do it more frequently if more stuff comes up, or if there's nothing to talk about. There's no sense in having everybody come up here. So, is everybody good with the first Thursday of every other month?
Yes, that's first Thursday. It's fine for me. How about you?
Same.
Okay.
Okay. All right, anybody have anything else? So Crystal, this is when you ask for a motion for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment?
A second?
I third.
Okay. Then just vote on it and we're all set.